playing there.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, sure.
April got here, you can start.
Call the meeting to order. Start with a prayer. Almighty God, we ask for your guidance and direction as we come together to meet. Grant us the strength to manage the challenges ahead and the wisdom to identify these as opportunities as we strive to serve the citizens of Crescent Springs. Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Patrick Hackett.
Here.
Chad Longbonds.
Here.
Carter Dickerson.
Here.
Christy Arlinghouse.
Here.
Vince Albanese. Bob Mueller.
Here.
Okay, next item, approval of minutes from June 10th, 2019 council minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the council meeting of June 10th, 2019.
Christie's made a motion.
I'll second it.
Pat second.
Chad Longbonds.
Yes.
Carter Dickerson.
Yes.
Christy Arlinghouse.
Yes.
Bob Mueller.
Yes.
Patrick Hackett.
Yes.
Fire authority report. Yep.
Good evening. I'll be very brief. Run numbers for June, 101 ambulance calls, 416 year-to-date, 517 year-to-date. That's up 61 from last year. Fire calls, 63 for June, 307 year-to-date, and that's up 21. The only other thing I have is Villa Hills has added their members to the new firehouse committee. They are going to be at the fire authority meeting next Monday to tour the firehouse and see the deficiencies. I think most of you all have been there to see what the problems are. They're going to be there to go through the building, and we'll show them exactly what's
When are you
going
going to start the committee meeting?
As soon as we have a committee.
Okay, well, we've appointed our.
Okay. So we could talk about that at the fire authority meeting. If your committee members want to be there to see the building, then we'll set a date from there.
All right.
Chief, what time is it?
It is at 6.
6?
The only other thing I have is we're having issues with controlled burns or uncontrolled burns. The state of Kentucky says, Kent County, you cannot burn other than in a fire pit, a chimney in your backyard, or getting large bonfires with not just yard debris, but we've had mattresses, fiberglass. There is an EPA representative that lives in Villa Hills, and she's been to the firehouse twice. So it's $25,000 fine if you get caught, especially with fiberglass or plastic or something like that. The only thing you can burn is fresh wood.
There was a backyard fire on Kentland Road. There's a home being renovated.
I addressed him today. When I told him about the fine, he said whatever. So, we can deal with the EPA, or you can let it burn out. So
I went by and heard the sirens, and I thought, they're coming this way. I don't need to call.
yep.
Any issues with fireworks?
No issues at all with fireworks. Over the holiday weekend, the drug overdoses were up just a bit, but boy, that's all the problems we had.
In the past, have you ever had to levy somebody with that fine or whatnot, out of curiosity?
We don't put the fine out, the EPA does. The city can fine them for violating the nuisance ordinance. Usually the threat works that, look, this $25,000 is the real deal. One we had down on the river, the black smoke was so large they thought a boat on the river was on fire. So Cincinnati had sent me the Ohio River cameras footage, and I showed the resident how bad it looked, and they agreed not to burn anything else.
And what was he burning?
So all the debris from the flooding in March was all piled up, and some of that was hulls of fiberglass boats. I think there was a portalet in there. There was some other things that came down the river,
Little bit
stayed
of
on
everything,
his
huh?
property,
Yeah, it's little.
and he was just trying to get rid of it.
Yeah.
But that's not the way to get rid of it.
That's right.
Okay. All right.
Where's their brains?
Any other questions?
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks. Good night.
Thank you, Jeff. Finance report, Nick.
April's not this out, anybody needs copies? So we've got kind of abbreviated report here, preliminary June numbers. Revenues and income and outlay both look a little bit light, so net result is 25,000 went out more than came in, which still leaves us in a very good position for the fiscal year end. We should be ahead of budget and substantially ahead of prior year in the net of those two. So we'll have better numbers for the caucus meeting. There's nothing really to point out in specific for the month of June, so if anybody has any questions.
Sound like any questions?
Sorry, I was just gonna say, are we to the point on this firehouse project where we have to start thinking about budgeting
Well,
ahead? If we don't know what we're gonna do.
Right. In fact, if Nick will accept, I'm asking him to be on the firehouse finance committee with Pat, if you got the time to do it.
What a deal.
If not, let me know. Matt said he would do it if you couldn't do it.
Okay. Yep, you can talk about it.
So is there a?
I meant to ask you in private, but Bob brought it up at that.
Is there a specific committee just for financing the new firehouse besides
Yes.
the regular firehouse?
Yes.
New firehouse committee?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I mean, again, I'm probably ahead of myself, but depending on what the committee recommends, there could be additional expenditures required. A couple different options. And they could potentially hit mid-year, mid-fiscal, so December-ish. Again, I'm speculating, but
The way they were talking, the earliest they would turn earth is June or to as late as August of next year. So it'd be in the next year's budget, not this year. But yes, we do probably need to look at it, it's gonna come in and how much.
are they covering all the, like the
In the
preliminary
way they pay for it.
engineering and all that?
Yeah,
They're already doing,
Yeah.
covering that cost?
Vince sent Chad and I the meeting that the chief went to and all the various programs he went through on preliminary, small fire department, various things.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no, certainly the further we can get in front of that, the better.
Right.
Thanks,
Okay. Thanks, Nick. Please report, Chief.
Good evening. It's been a fairly busy month, as expected for June. We have about 912 runs in the city here, 1,649 calls altogether for both cities, which is up about 300. Crime 16, total collisions 24, citations 105, courtesies 118, call responses 10. Of the crimes we had 3 burglaries, 4 larcenies, and 1 auto theft. We're at a 95% closure rate on our cases. Just some highlights. Again, Buttermilk was the top roadway with the collisions, followed by Anderson again. I think that's 4 or 5 months in a row now. So, and it's usually right down there by the intersection where accidents are. For the month, we had court time of 18 hours of overtime, shift coverage 22 hours, late call 3.5 hours, and the shred event, we had 2 hours, which is 46 hours total. K9 Onyx is now fully certified. He's had several call outs, doing very well. Some of the major cases we had, Lupita's Bakery, we've made one arrest, recovered some of the property. Some of the property we're not going to be able to recover. We have a warrant out for a second subject, and we're looking for a second vehicle. So once we get that subject and vehicle, we'll seize the vehicle and arrest the subject. On the camera shop, we're still working on that case. It's going to be a long, drawn-out case, so it's going to take some time to do. So just be patient with us. We'll get it done. Other than that, those are the only major cases we really had.
Can I ask a question about the
ma'am.
robbery?
What, okay, it's
The
camera
Lupita
shop?
one?
Lupita or camera?
$30,000?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am.
What would a business like that have $30,000 in cash? I mean,
Evidently, she's doing something with cash, helping people cash in checks. I'm not
Like
really
an
sure.
American Express exchange, they do cash transactions.
But it wasn't.
to other
kept in the safe.
countries? Cash exchange to other countries, like
Not
Western
foreign
Union?
exchange,
Yeah.
more like money orders and
Yeah, stuff like
cash,
that.
yeah.
Is it safe for her now that the general public knows how much money she generally keeps in cash?
Well, we suggested that she does it a different way.
Uh-huh.
She does. If she doesn't, she doesn't. I can only suggest. But we have Mr. Clem, he's in custody, he's not going anywhere. We do have one of the vehicles he purchased with the money. Most of the other part of the money he smoked up.
What was the name again?
Clem is his last name, Robert. I knew him from my Covington days, so he's been around quite a long time. His girlfriend has a warrant out currently for him. We're looking for the vehicle she's got. They used that money to use purchases, and they went on a trip or whatever, I don't know what else. So it's gonna be kind of hard to get some of it back, most of it back, in fact. So, but other than that, everything else has been running fine. So, any other questions?
Anybody else?
Have you had any major issues with the barriers, people doing U-turns around
People are
them?
doing U-turns, and until there's a sign up, I can't enforce it.
But no collisions based off of those U-turns or anything?
Because if there's no sign there, I have to prove it was unsafe.
Yeah.
And good luck.
Well, without collisions?
If there's a sign goes up there, the state says, once the sign's up there, there's no U-turns whatsoever. So as soon as the state gives me a U-turn sign, we'll enforce it. Other than that, if it's dangerous, we'll stop them. If it's not, we won't.
God, it should be that hard to get a sign, you know?
Yes, it is. It's
I
very
know,
hard to get a sign.
but
It's a
it
state
shouldn't.
route.
Through
Good
the
luck.
state, through the state it is.
Good luck.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
All right, thank you.
Thanks,
you.
Chief.
Thanks, Steve.
And happy anniversary. It's been
Yes.
1 year.
It's been a good year.
It has been a
It
good
has
year.
been.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. All right, Dewey, Public Works.
We're working on putting mulch down, doing landscaping down here at the city building, painting the striping and things in the lot. We've got just about all this done down here, and then we'll be moving up to the park. Had the sprinkler guy up here check all the sprinklers down here and up at the park, and everything's working fine. I've got one full-time and one part-time guy now that we hired, and they're working really well. We're getting caught up on a lot of stuff. I've got one more to get, a part-time person, looking for that person now. I called up about the bucket truck. They've done the inspection on it. There's about 15, 20 things that's wrong with it. Some of them's minor, but I do have some major as far as hydraulic hoses and things like that. So they're getting me a price together because of the holidays. He said he couldn't get it to me until this week. So I should have that this week here. We're fixing up some damage to the ground over on Queen City Avenue where one of our trucks went off the road, and we just about got that taken care of over there. And then the plumber finally showed up at the park, so he's got half of the sanitation line dug and half the pipe put in. They're supposed to come and inspect it tomorrow, and if it passes, then they'll fill it, and then he's gonna get the rest of it done. So we're trying to keep it going while we got it.
Good.
And that's all I got.
Okay, thanks. City Administrator, Mike.
Thank you, Mayor and council members. I just have two simple things. I just sent out an email about 30 minutes ago. Both items, George did a great job of obviously taking the lead and organizing both ideas. Obviously, the first one came from our economic development meeting recently with setting up a meeting with Jim Parsons. George has done that. We actually meet with him next week, Tuesday at 10 a.m. And then the last thing is the idea that George, and I think everybody has been thinking about, is with all the home instruction taking place within the region, such as our city and Villa Hills, we're definitely going to see a large increase with future traffic from the new neighborhoods. So we have came up with the idea of obviously forming a committee that's going to, have several people on the committee, Kenton County representatives, Villa Hills representatives, State of Kentucky representatives, and so on, to start coming up with, alternative ideas and means to think about how we're going to get this traffic elsewhere besides Buttermilk Pike. Because as we all know, Buttermilk Pike is a very, very busy location. So it's a good thing to do now. And I think everybody needs to start asking themselves these questions, the critical question of, how can we ease the congestion for our communities? And George does have some neat ideas, really thinking out of the box. But obviously that takes bringing a lot of different players to the table and making that happen. And it's not something that just takes place tomorrow or the next day. It's going to take time, but the discussion will start on Wednesday, July 24th, and we'll go from there.
What time?
I don't think the time has been, is it 6? I think it's
6 o'clock.
6.
Out of curiosity, how many, I don't know if anybody here knows this, but how many vehicles up here on Buttermilk goes through the intersection?
The Anderson intersection?
Yeah.
I don't know if we've
I
had a
don't know
counter
where-
up there recently.
The state probably has a real good count.
Yeah, I bet they
I
do.
don't know.
I don't think they've had one up there.
I'm going back a number of years, it was 39,000.
They would have had to count it
That was-
before putting in the barriers,
Yeah.
just to justify one more time. So I'm sure they got a good count.
I bet it's more than that now.
Well, now
I
it
bet
probably
it
is,
is,
because
too.
that was
It's
about
probably
10 years
tons.
ago.
And I'm sure that Villa Hills has a good count because they had to redo it for the Collins road work. So
They
we
did.
could imagine how many are coming from that area, but yeah,
They
that's a lot.
always say with new residents, on the national average, it's about 3 cars per home. So
Mhm.
if you think about the projects that are going on in our city, which
Right.
is great, and Villa Hills, it obviously is going to be a big increase.
And then you also have to take into consideration, they're building that big assisted living place back
Right.
there in Madonna Manor, and the
Right.
additional employees and residents back there.
Yeah.
In 3 or 4 years, it's going to be a mess if we don't do something to alleviate it.
They're gonna have to make Collins 4-lane.
I've been wondering when they might start investigating that. They've got plenty
I
of
would've
right away,
thought
that's
they
for
would've done
sure.
that already.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't see how that's going to solve the problem. All that's going to do is pour more traffic.
It'll
on
get them
Buttermilk.
faster to
Yeah, I
Buttermilk.
know.
It'll get them faster to Buttermilk, but that doesn't really
Yeah.
take care of the
We
problem.
need to find a
on
way to
Buttermilk.
make Eubanks
Well-
Road work.
Yeah.
That's the
And-
pressure relief valve that we need.
Or another bridge.
Or another bridge. Build a bridge.
That's all I have. If there's any questions, I'll
You
try to
said
answer
that was
them
6
for you.
PM on Wednesday?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I had.
I'll confirm, but yeah. I
Please
think
let me
Mike's
know,
right.
Mike.
Okay.
And I will say this, it's great to have George's mind and vision back. It's a very big benefit from his experience that he has for the community. It's neat to see his thought process on things, which I can learn a lot from. So.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Mayor's report. I don't have anything other than inviting everybody to the mayor's breakfast. It will be held here the 21st of this month, Saturday the 21st. So if you can attend,
Question for you.
yeah.
Where did we talked about it, I guess, several months ago, where did we decide or leave off dealing with the signs that we were talking about?
Well, as soon as the budget's been approved, we need to put it out for bid, because we have to, since it's $40,000, it has to go out for bid. On that issue, I know there was some talk about moving it from up there somewhere else. Well, then that price is gonna go up, because the original bid that we had for $40,000 was using the base of both of these signs, base and top, and just putting the center part in, so.
You got electric there already and a phone
Yeah,
line,
everything
too.
else is there, so if we move it somewhere else, then there's gonna be a lot more cost involved. So, just wanna let you know that.
Mayor, has there been any follow-up work done on the survey, the community input
No.
letter that was sent out?
No, we were going to divide that up between council member and committees, which we haven't done yet, but we need to do. Some of that would, I think, come under the Economic Development Committee, but we can use suggestions on, what committees or, who can handle it.
Yeah, but that's still on the
Yeah.
radar, is
Yeah.
using that?
We
Okay.
just haven't done it at this point.
Well, there's a lot going on, so I can understand, but just want to make sure, because that yielded some pretty good, action
Yes,
steps.
it did. Yes, it did.
So ranking those and using them.
Right.
Great.
Maybe by next month, we'll have that broken down. Okay. Old business. Second reading of ordinance 2019-8, Charter Communications Franchise Renewal.
Ordinance 2019-8, an ordinance of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, authorizing the mayor to enter into the renewal of a franchise agreement between the city and Spectrum Mid-America LLC, locally known as Charter Communications, successor in interest to TCI TKR of Northern Kentucky, and successor in interest to Insight Communications. Whereas the city finds that Spectrum Mid-America LLC, hereafter known as Charter Communications, has substantially complied with the terms of the current franchise agreement, and whereas the City of Crescent Springs desires to enter into a renewal of the franchise agreement with Charter Communications, who is the successor in interest to TCI TKR of Northern Kentucky, as set forth in Ordinance 1995-15, and the successor in interest of Insight Communications, as set forth in Ordinance 2010-11. And whereas the City of Crescent Springs finds that Charter Communications has complied with federal and state mandated procedural and substantive requirements pertinent to the franchise renewal, now therefore be it ordained by the mayor and the city council of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, that the mayor is hereby authorized to enter into a renewal of the franchise agreement with Spectrum Mid-America LLC, also known as Charter Communications, for a period of 10 years with applicable renewal periods as set forth in the agreement.
Okay, any questions or statements?
I'm reading kind of through this franchise agreement with all the various information they have. Does Cincinnati Bell have to have one of these two, like, charter us with the city?
With, they have their own, they own the poles, and they own the lines. So
I'm
I think
talking
it's
about
all,
when they're trenching in people's yards and stuff like that, putting in utilities.
the short answer is I don't know that. Except I already know they have the infrastructure.
I just thought I'd ask that.
It's a good question.
I don't remember us ever talking about Cincinnati
I
Bell.
don't believe we
No,
have.
I don't think we have.
You may have an agreement, it's really, really old, that goes for 50 years or something.
I will ask my predecessor if he has a recollection, to see if that, well,
Okay.
I would ask his predecessor too, if I can find him.
Well, he's probably in Florida.
He is in Florida.
Okay. Next item is new business.
That's a second reading, you gotta take.
Oh,
a
second
motion on
reading,
that.
yep. Need a motion for ordinance 2019-8 Charter Communications franchise renewal.
I'd make a motion we adopt 2019-8.
I'll second.
Carter, motion. Chad, second.
Carter Dickerson,
Yes.
Christie Arlinghouse.
Yes.
Bob Mueller,
Yes.
Patrick Hackett,
Yes.
Chad Longbones.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Now, new business. Resolution 2019-2, accepting the reappointment of members for the Northern Kentucky Regional Ethics Authority.
Resolution number 2019-2, a resolution of the City of Crescent Springs accepting the reappointment of Marcus Carey, Daniel Kripe, Daryl Cummins, Robert F. Green, Mary Kay Malloy, Carolyn Lanehart, and Tom Quirk as members of the Northern Kentucky Regional Ethics Authority Enforcement Committee for a 2-year term expiring on January 31st, 2021. Whereas ordinance number 2011-1 is amended, established a code of ethical conduct applicable to the officers and employees of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, and its agencies. And whereas Crescent Springs entered into an interlocal agreement to join the Northern Kentucky Regional Ethics Authority, the NKREA, to implement said code of ethics. And whereas Article 3A of the interlocal gives the NKREA Authority Board the authorization to select members of the NKREA Enforcement Committee subject to the approval of each member jurisdiction relevant legislative body. And whereas at the NKREA's annual meeting held on December 7, 2016, the Authority Board renominated Marcus Carey, Daniel Kripe, Daryl Cummings, Mary Kay Malloy, Robert F. Green, Carolyn Lanehart, and Tom Quirk to each serve a 2-year term on the NKREA Enforcement Committee. Now therefore be it resolved by the legislative body of the City of Crescent Springs, Kentucky, Section 1, that the reappointment of Marcus Carey, Daniel Kripe, Daryl Cummings, Robert F. Green, Mary Kay Malloy, Carolyn Lanehart, and Tom Quirk as members of the NKREA Enforcement Committee for a 2-year term expiring on January 31st, 2021 is hereby approved. Section 2, this resolution shall take effect and be in full force when passed and recorded according to law.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
I don't think so.
Like to have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2019-2.
Christie's made the motion. Do I have a second?
I will second it.
Pat, second.
Christie Arlinghouse.
Yes.
Bob Mueller.
Yes.
Patrick Hackett.
Yes.
Chad Longbonds.
Yes.
Carter Dickerson.
Yes.
Passes unanimously. Next item, finance meeting is 7/17. Caucus meeting will be on the 22nd. And events and recreation, 8/7.
And we have an events and recreation meeting this Wednesday night, too.
This one.
Urban Economic Development on the 15th?
Yeah, 15.
15th.
Are you still having that if this meeting's being on the 16th with
Yeah.
Jim Parsons? You can just think about that.
For sure.
Okay.
Other question, where do we stand with, not that I'm pushing out the door, with Carter's replacement? Any names come forward? I know some names have come forward, any decisions, I should say.
Yeah, well, the decision will be made by council. But there, Mike, BJ had sent in
2 names.
a couple names. I have a name. He hasn't confirmed yet whether, he wants to be considered or not. Other than that, I don't know of any others.
Have we thought about reaching out to the old section of Crescent Springs?
Well, that's where
Because-
this person lives.
Well, I was thinking because, we're talking about redoing the sidewalks and streets and everything, it would be nice to have a representative from there. Just a thought.
If nothing else, perhaps have him on that committee that's going to talk about that piece of the
Yeah.
development
Oh, absolutely.
roadmap.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna do it.
But, we're not rushing Carter.
Well, no, I mean,
There's time.
As a little bit of an update, so we have made an offer on a house and we're set to close in August 6th. So I do plan, but you never know what will happen, so that could fall through. But so I plan to be here on the 5th for the council meeting, and then after that, I would need to resign if everything moves forward. But it's been my honor working with all of y'all.
When
Good-
school
good group.
start?
School starts on the 12th, so
Oh,
we're
you're
right in time.
close.
So you have a mailing address, so you're okay?
We will by the time school starts.
Yeah.
So,
August 12th.
things change.
Yeah,
Yeah, August 12th.
That's incredible.
just seems like summer just started.
Jeez.
August 12th is early,
Yeah,
but that's when it starts.
okay.
So,
They don't have snow days either at Beechwood.
wow. I guess a couple.
Well, they have that
Ice
fleet
day.
of
I
Mercedes
think-
that comes around and
Yeah,
picks up
right.
the kids. you know?
I think ice days are worse because they still have all the power lines over there and they always get knocked out.
Yeah.
So,
Okay,
Okay.
Any
I make
other-
the-
comments or nothing to bring up? I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Christie's made a motion to adjourn.
End the meeting.
I'll second.
Aye.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.